John Lee says the government will cut spending and introduce measures to boost the economy after the estimated deficit soared. Police cracked down on drug trafficking with a 12-year-old student among those arrested. And in Syria, rebels seize control of Aleppo, while Iraqi fighters are reportedly heading to the country to help the government. Good evening, I'm Melissa Hekalea, and this is TVB News. Chief Executive John Lee said the government will cut spending and implement measures to boost the economy. The CE's comment came after the government doubled its estimated deficit for the current financial year to around $100 billion. Mimo Singhai with a top story.
In a Legislative Council meeting on Monday, Financial Secretary Paul Chan said the deficit for the current fiscal year will be roughly $100 billion, more than double the original estimate of $48 billion. Chan said the situation was caused by a drop in the government's revenue in several areas, including land sale and stamp duty. Speaking to the media ahead of the Executive Council meeting on Tuesday, Chief Executive John Lee responded to the deficit issue.
The government has rolled out counter-cyclical measures to help boost the economy, and the government will continue to control expenditure and tap new sources. On controlling expenditure, we're going to cut unnecessary expenses. On tapping new revenue sources, the government will continue to exercise prudence to minimize impact on our people.
Meanwhile, the CE said the implementation of the airport's three-runway system and the upcoming operation of Kai Tak Sports Park can act as new growth points for the city. With the resumption of the multiple entry individual visit scheme for Shenzhen residents, Lee said it can stimulate the retail, tourism, and food and beverage sectors. Last week, more than 80 enterprises signed letters of intent in support of the Northern Metropolis project. Lee is confident that investors will obtain positive gains from the project. Mims 9, TVB News.
On Monday, a Hong Kong court overturned an environmental study that would have paved the way to build housing on Fanling Golf Course. Chief Executive John Lee today said the court's decision would significantly affect the development of the project, including the number of flats and completion time. However, he gave assurances that this would not have a huge impact on the city's overall housing supply. Samantha Lee reports.
Last year, the government took back 32 hectares of the Fanling Golf Course, of which 9.5 hectares were part of the administration's plan to build 12,000 public housing flats. However, the development plan was challenged by a judicial review filed by the Hong Kong Golf Club. The High Court handed down its judgment on Monday and sent the plan back to the consultation stage. Chief Executive John Lee was asked about any possible government follow-up action.
Public housing development on Fanling Golf Course is a decision made by the former government. In terms of the number of public housing units, the density, and the delay in the housing production, we are seeing a significant impact, and that means the government will have to conduct holistic assessment.
However, he said whether they build flats on Fanling Golf Course or not, it won't have a major impact on housing supply in the long term.
We have secured land to produce more than 308,000 public housing units. The change in relation to the public housing development on Fanling Golf Course should not pose a major change to public housing production target for the Hong Kong government. Still, we need to conduct analysis before deciding the way forward.
Meanwhile, the Federation of Public Housing Estates said with the increasing provision of transitional housing and light public housing, the urgency to build flats on the Fanling Golf Course no longer exists. Anthony Chu, the executive director of the Federation, said many residents thought the Fanling Golf Course could be used to build flats during the consultation in 2018. He said it was a pity that things did not go to plan, and suggested the government learn from this and conduct a thorough environmental assessment report on the housing plan for the northern metropolis. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
The police seized nearly 10,000 space oil capsules and arrested 99 people in 66 drug cases last week. Among the arrestees is a 12-year-old secondary school student. Officers seized 20 kilograms of cocaine, 14 kilograms of ice, and 20 kilograms of marijuana in the operations. The Narcotics Bureau said it targeted online drug trafficking last week. Some 9,900 space oil capsules were found, including 1.7 kilos and 1.2 kilos of etimidate in forms of liquid and powder, respectively. Officers also raided a space oil processing center and arrested 8 key members of the drug syndicate. Authorities warned that space oil is a type of drug that young people should not try. China has submitted its baselines of territorial waters in Huangyangdao Island on the South China Sea at a nautical chart to the United Nations. China's envoy to the UN, Geng Shuang, on Monday submitted a statement on Beijing's claim to the area around the island, which is called Scarborough Shoal by the Philippines and is also claimed by Manila. The baselines and chart were officially deposited to the UN's legal counsel, Stephen D. Matthias, and will be published on the UN's website. The procedure is part of the UN Convention of the Law of the Sea. A baseline is a line that runs along the coast of a country or an island that measures territorial sea. The statement said this is a natural step to lawfully strengthen Beijing's marine management and is consistent with international law and common practice. Over the weekend, China's Coast Guard conducted enforcement patrols around Huangyangdao. Beijing announced its baselines around the island 3 weeks ago, prompting a protest by the Philippines. U.S. President Joe Biden arrived in Angola on Monday for his long-awaited presidential visit to sub-Saharan Africa. He will highlight a U.S.-backed railway project meant to counter China's influence on the African continent of over 1.4 billion people. On his way, he stopped in the Atlantic Ocean island nation of Cabo Verde for a closed-door meeting with their prime minister. Tracy Furness has more.
Stepping off Air Force One, U.S. President Joe Biden arrived in Angola for his first visit as president to the sub-Saharan region. During his 3-day trip, he will focus largely on the Lobito Corridor Railway redevelopment in Zambia, Congo and Angola. It aims to advance U.S. presence in a region rich in critical minerals used in batteries for electric vehicles, electronic devices and clean energy technologies. The U.S. has committed $3 billion to the Lobito Corridor, meant to make it easier to move raw materials around the continent for export. The project has drawn financing from the European Union, the group of 7 leading industrialized nations, a Western-led private consortium and African banks. The U.S. has for years built relations in Africa through trade, security and humanitarian aid. The 1,300-kilometer railway upgrade is a different move and has shades of China Belt and Road foreign infrastructure strategy in Africa and other parts of the world. The White House National Security Communications Advisor, John Kirby, said the corridor was about more than simply Washington trying to outpace Beijing geopolitically. Biden's first stop on his 3-day tour was in the Atlantic Ocean island nation of Cabo Verde, where he had closed-door meetings with Prime Minister Ulysses Carrera y Silva. The last U.S. president to visit sub-Saharan Africa was Barack Obama in 2015. Biden did attend a United Nations Climate Summit in Egypt in North Africa in 2022. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Syrian rebels have stormed a residence belonging to President Bashar al-Assad and pulled down a statue of his brother as they strengthen their hold on Aleppo. Hundreds of Iran-backed fighters in Iraq have crossed into Syria to bolster government forces. David Garrett with more.
Armed men in fatigues move through the plush interior of a palace of President Bashar al-Assad in Aleppo. After showing empty, ornate living rooms, the rebels move to the bathroom. One comments about the lovely jacuzzi tub. They continue filming as they move through the building. Anti-government forces have taken control of the power base in Syria's second city. Another symbolic moment. This man explains to the camera in Turkish what is about to happen. We have returned to our lands after 10 years, he says. As the narrator continues, adding, God is great, and this is the end of the dictators, his colleagues prepare to dismantle the statue, which depicts Bashar al-Assad, the president's brother, on a horse. As the cheers grow, the statue is toppled. It is celebrated with gunfire. In an interview with state television, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian called the insurgents terrorists. Iran supports Syria's current government, as does Vladimir Putin. Russia reportedly sent fighter jets to help the Assad government over the weekend. As the first major offensive in 4 years enabled rebels to take Aleppo, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan of Turkey, which is sympathetic to the opposition, said 13 years of instability should end with a consensus in line with the legitimate demands of the Syrian people. But Erdogan's backing of this bold move by rebels could have consequences for his country, which borders Syria as well as others in the region and beyond.
The offensive launched by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, an entity subject to Security Council sanctions, along with a broad range of armed opposition factions, shifted front lines that had been static since 2020. There are reports of civilian casualties, displacements of tens of thousands of people, damage to civilian infrastructure, and an interruption of essential services and humanitarian aid.
A resident from Aleppo, now in Damascus, says it is dangerous to leave and dangerous to stay, with reports of snipers and rebels raiding homes. The head of Aleppo's largest power station told China Media Group employees have been detained at the plant and forced to work for the rebel groups. David Garrett, TVB News.
Still ahead, Chinese-built rail systems in Saudi Arabia provide convenient transport for Muslims during their sacred pilgrimage. A wild pig venturing onto the island Eastern Corridor. And a community pharmacy run by the University of Hong Kong. Welcome back to TVB News. Millions of Muslims from around the world travel to Saudi Arabia's Mecca annually to perform Hajj, the sacred pilgrimage. Chinese enterprises have built light rail and high-speed trains in the region to ease traffic congestion on the roads and provide convenient transport. Danny Zhou has the story.
Airport, the main arrival point for Muslim worshippers. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
The French government is nearing collapse after politicians from both the left and the right say they will push for a no-confidence vote against the prime minister. Michel Barnier used special powers to force through the social security budget without a final vote in parliament. A last-minute concession was not enough to get support from the far-right National Rally. Leader Marine Le Pen said her party will table a no-confidence vote, while the left called Barnier's actions a denial of democracy. Locally, former media tycoon and founder of the now-defunct Apple Daily, Jimmy Lai, today continued taking the stand to defend himself against national security charges. Lai was charged with 2 counts of conspiracy to collude with foreign forces and 1 count of conspiring to publish seditious material. In the trial today, he admitted suggesting that the U.S. sanctioned Chinese officials, including freezing their assets. On day 101 of the trial at West Kowloon Court, the defense showed an interview of Lai with Fox News. In it, Lai said the U.S. could impose sanctions against Chinese officials, including freezing their American bank accounts. The defense also showed a tweet by Lai posted on May 27, 2020. In that tweet, Lai tagged former U.S. President Donald Trump and said he is a man of his words who warned China there would be serious consequences if the national security law was passed. When asked if Lai called for more serious sanctions on the implementation day of the law, Lai said he forgot the details. And a wild boar appeared on the island eastern corridor early this morning. The police surrounded the suspected injured wild boar, which was later captured by the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, or SPCA. The SPCA arrived at the scene and put the boar into a cage. At around 6 a.m., the police received a call from a driver who saw a 2-foot-long boar on the westbound lane of the island eastern corridor near Taikushing. Police officers used signposts to surround the animal and called the SPCA for assistance. The police suspected the boar had injured its legs. Hong Kong UMed today said it hopes to contribute to the city's primary health care through the operation of a community pharmacy. The pharmacy went into service last month. Mimo Singhai reports.
Ms. Do is a customer of HKU Med's community pharmacy on Sassoon Road in Pak Fu Lam, which has been in service since mid-November. Managed by 2 pharmacists from the Department of Pharmacology and Pharmacy of the University of Hong Kong, the site includes 2 private consultation rooms where personal medication advice can be made to residents. While the pharmacy welcomes the general public, its main target customers are patients from Queen Mary Hospital, HKU staff and students. An academic said they hope to contribute to the development of the city's primary healthcare through the establishment of the community pharmacy.
To make use of this pharmacy to conduct research so that we can help our patients, citizens, to optimize the use of medicine. We make use of our knowledge to treat our patient, to transfer our understanding, our knowledge to all pharmacies in Hong Kong.
A pharmacy student said he has acquired soft skills from working part-time there.
I can observe from a side and to know what the patient actually is concerned of the medications, and I will know how to counsel patients next time if I have the chance.
To visit the pharmacy, members of the public can choose to walk in or contact the site via their WhatsApp account. Memos 9, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.